Muito bom dia a todos. Welcome to our guests. But I would like to speak first for the Portuguese participants. Let me speak Portuguese. Queria agradecer a todos a vossa presença e relembrar-vos que estivemos aqui há um ano atrás, eu e o Sr. Ministro da Ciência, imbuídos de um espírito muito reformador relativamente à experimentação e à investigação agrária em Portugal e muito disponíveis para conjugar esforços, para otimizar recursos e para relançar, especialmente, foi essa a nossa primeira motivação, a experimentação agrária, que no caso do Ministério da Agricultura decaiu muito nos últimos anos devido às vicissitudes que o país conheceu, à reforma profunda e à concentração dos organismos da administração pública e, portanto, quando cheguei agora ao Governo, constatei que existia um vasto conjunto de recursos que não estavam a ser coerentemente otimizados e aproveitados e que devíamos, portanto, fazer um esforço no sentido de, com outras instituições, e particularmente com aquelas que têm a ver com a experimentação e a investigação agrária, otimizar estes recursos, otimizar as fontes de financiamento por forma a que possamos ter um verdadeiro instrumento ao serviço da agricultura para cumprir aqueles que são os objetivos do Governo. Os objetivos do Governo, como ainda ontem tive a oportunidade de exprimir aqui, visam essencialmente de uma forma muito simplificada. Nós queremos até 2020 equilibrar em valor a nossa balança agroalimentar. E, portanto, anular o déficit de cerca de 3 mil milhões de euros anuais que ainda existe. Para isso é necessário aumentar a produção, é necessário substituir importações e é necessário continuar a crescer de forma sustentada nas exportações. Com grande satisfação nossa, os 2 primeiros meses deste ano superam todas as nossas melhores expectativas. As exportações do agroalimentar atingiram os 15,7% em janeiro, comparativamente com o ano anterior, 15,7%. E, portanto, é necessário continuar a criar condições para que possamos continuar a crescer. Isso implica mais investimento, melhor investimento, mas implica muita capacidade de investigação, experimentação e inovação. E sobre essa questão gostaria de vos informar com satisfação de que Portugal irá organizar, em patrocínio e a colaboração e a interligação com a União Europeia, em 11 e 12 de outubro próximo, aquilo aqui como é sempre chamar o Agri Innovation Summit, que terá lugar precisamente no INIAB, em 11 e 12 de outubro, e para o qual estão desde já convidados, no sentido de que, no futuro, este possa ser um evento que possa vir a realizar-se com regularidade. Portanto, um ano depois, digamos, o processo que levou à constituição desta rede, que é a rede com os politécnicos, que é aquelas que envolvem algumas universidades, demoraram talvez mais tempo do que nós desejaríamos a ser lançado, mas estão agora em plena execução e eu espero, nos prazos que foram definidos nos 4 despachos conjuntos, com o Ministério da Ciência, a Agricultura e outros ministérios, possamos não só apresentar resultados a muito curto prazo quanto à definição das estratégias, mas sobretudo quanto aos planos de ação, à sua quantificação, à sua calendarização, por forma a que tenhamos resultados no terreno tão depressa quanto possível. Muito obrigado pela vossa atenção.
Bom dia a todos e muito obrigado. E antes de mais, permitam-me aqui que agradeça não apenas ao Ministro da Agricultura, mas sobretudo ao Comissário Moedas, que veio de Bruxelas para participar nestas jornadas de ciência e inovação no Alentejo e voltarmos ao Oliveja, onde, como o Luís Capoulas também disse, há um ano atrás lançámos o desafio às escolas politécnicas para se organizarem, para se criarem redes. E por isso organizámos o Fórum Politécnico que o Eduardo Pereira tem promovido ao longo do último ano, após a primeira realização aqui mesmo na Oliveja, que foram realizados 9 fóruns politécnicos nas várias áreas da atuação e da economia, da agricultura, ao desporto, passando pelas tecnologias de informação. Isso leva de uma forma muito rápida a vos agradecer a todos, mas passar para 3 mensagens. And let me also speak in English and thank all of those that came here. If last year we have organized only a meeting within Portuguese researchers within the agrarian schools in the polytechnics, this year we have expanded to the European and North African context, and above all to Mediterranean. And let me thank very much to Angelo for being here with us, not only to promote PRIMA, but to understand the skills, the needs, the opportunities for those that in Portugal play for a better Europe, and Europe with more knowledge, and above all, a Europe open to the world, as Carlos Moedas used to say. I have essentially 3 messages to pass to you. First is for the future generations. I did this 1 year ago when we met here, and when I look to this audience, I believe we need and we have the collective responsibility to educate future generations for a better country, a better world, and certainly a better Europe. And namely in agriculture, which, as the Minister of Agriculture just mentioned, is a key and will be a more stronger key issue for all our economies. Is particularly important to attract young generations, to promote the use of research and modern education pedagogy, to attract those for more innovative technologies, more innovative processes, and at the end of the day, highest productivity rates in agriculture. So take attention to future generations, bring them, educate them, and involve them in research. And this leads to my second message, which is certainly very much within the current context of PRIMA and of the European Commission, and all of those who want to be part of that large and knowledge Europe, which is the co-localization of education, research, and innovation. And in fact, what we are doing here in Portugal is to set a number of research networks, particularly in this area. Over the last months, we have built 5 research networks, one in the Polytechnic Agrarian schools, essentially with the goal to turn them into lively research farms, which can only be done by localizing agro-food industries, companies inside these large pieces of lands, together with educating the future generation. So the co-localization of research activities, education and innovation is part of this process, which is not only Portuguese, but is particularly critical in Portugal. I mentioned 5 networks. Certainly one of them is building up of research farms throughout the 8 schools of agrarian studies, but also one in Alentejo Tech, and I just see Anna, that we coordinate, Anna Freitas, director of the University of Évora. We have another one coordinated by the University of Trás-os-Montes, together also with INEAP, because all these partnerships are very important for participation of research institutions, higher education institutions, and the State Lab for Agricultural Studies, INEAP. But I was mentioning the third one is focused on the Douro Valley and the wine production in the area. The third one centers in the agro station of Oeiras, close to Lisbon, and the fourth one on the Research Mountains, where we also develop strategic research activities. So these 5 networks should be the basis of the full integration of Portuguese teams into the PRIME network. As Ricardo so well explained, it's a big challenge to build these networks, to work together, and this is my third message. The need, particularly in Alentejo, a land of large piece of agriculture production, we need to better understand how can we work together between each other, between those devoted to economic activities, in particular in this area, in the agro-business sector, those in the schools, among the different schools, and also in an European-wide context. Openness to each other, openness to certainly Europe, openness to the world has been the message that we have strongly supported by the Commission and by Commissioner Carlos Moedas in particular, and I'm very pleased to pass now the word to him, so much better than I do, he can express European effort to make a better Europe, and Europe with more knowledge, certainly with more Portuguese people. Thank you.
Muito bom dia, muito obrigado a todos, especialmente, em primeiro lugar, aqui aos senhores ministros, Manuel Leitor e Capolas Santos, que têm sido 2 aliados e 2 amigos nesta grande aventura da Europa. Depois ao Sr. Secretário de Estado, também um grande prazer estar aqui consigo. Queria dizer uma palavra ao meu amigo Vitor e dizer que as suas palavras cheias de emoção também me transmitiram essa mesma emoção e que é uma grande emoção estar aqui em Beja, como sempre. Não há dia em que eu não pense em Beja, em que não falo com alguém de Beja e que o meu coração não esteja em Beja, mesmo se fisicamente tenho estado longe, e é com muita pena que tenho estado longe, mas não consigo esticar, nem consigo estar em 2 sítios, ainda não tenho holograma. Há uns políticos agora que já têm holograma, mas eu ainda não tenho holograma. Depois ao Rui Garrido, Rui, muito obrigado, muitos parabéns, eu acho que ouvir Beja mudou Alentejo. Esse é o trabalho de muitos anos, de uma grande equipa, do nosso querido amigo Manuel Castro Brito, que já não está entre nós, e é para mim a minha infância, ou de ter visto o começo do que foi isto, não era nada, e hoje é um evento de uma dimensão internacional única, e por isso Rui, muitos parabéns, e muitos parabéns a todos. Depois agradecer também aqui ao Professor Angelo Ricaboni for your words and for everything you did on PRIMA. E agora é um bocadinho estranho estar em Beja e vou falar em inglês, mas pronto, há sempre uma primeira vez, mas como me disseram que a audiência não fala toda português e que o Manuel Leitor agora já me meteu na posição de ter falado inglês, queria só dizer agora aqui umas palavrinhas em inglês para a audiência e para assim todos vamos tentar, todos o possível. Professor Ricaboni, thank you very much for coming here and explain about PRIMA. PRIMA is probably the most important thing and my biggest achievement in these 2 years. I hope I will have others. I actually have one here with Minister Capolas Santos about the big project in Alqueva that I'm supporting very much, and the Minister has done a great and amazing job in Europe, and I hope that we'll have another big project. But PRIMA, for me, was really this link in between politics and science, because PRIMA is much more than science. It's about the situation we live in today. People are disconnected from science. People don't believe anymore somehow in science. And that's very scary for the world. You know, in 2016, the Oxford Dictionaries decided to pick the word of the year. And that word of the year was post-truth, a post-verdade. And that is very scary. I mean, it's scary for our families, it's scary for our future, that we're living in a world where people think that they can solve problems without science. And PRIMA unites everybody, unites us, the European countries, with the other side of the Mediterranean. And that, I think, will have long and lasting effects for not just the science, but those links with the politics of creating the trust. I think that the biggest problem we have today is how do you create this trust with people? People don't trust politicians, now they don't trust scientists. Who do people trust? And so how do you create those hubs of trust? And PRIMA, for me, will be one of these hubs of trust where you look at two of the major problems we have ahead of us. The first is that how can you, or how will you, nourish a planet that will have, by 2050, around 10 billion people. So more than 2 billion than today that we have to feed. And that's agriculture, that's what you do here, that's Ovibeja. How do you do that? Because the planet is scarce, and so far economists thought that you could have an economy that will be just linear. You would just have a lot of waste, and you'll do your job and you'll create growth. And because GDP is a measure of that flow, of that creation of growth without counting with the waste, and the fact that you are destroying the planet, then people were driven, politicians were driven to get their GDP, their wealth up through an indicator that actually is destroying somehow the sustainability of the planet. And one of the important points of PRIMA is how do you look at producing more with sometimes less? And last year, or 2 years ago, went to Expo Milan, and we had the prize of the youngest innovator of Europe. And the youngest innovator of Europe is an Irish boy, 16 years old, that worked all his life with his father, who is a farmer, and so he's not even at university. And he was able to develop a very simple idea. He thought, if we have to produce more food, I have to be able to make my seeds, when I plant those seeds, to produce more. And so what he decided in his mind is that if you would perforate, do a little more holes on those seeds, then those seeds will produce more. So it will increase the yield. And we gave this prize to this young boy because we thought, one, science is not just about scientists. Science is about people that are passionate, and you can have 16 years old with no formal education and do it. And at the same time, he, with 16 years old, understood the problem, which is basically how do you increase the production with the same base? And I think that's really one of the biggest challenges of the future. The second one is water, and that's why PRIMA is about food and water. And water, I don't know, sometimes we live in our comfortable life and we don't even imagine that today there's more than 1 billion people that do not have drinkable water. And I started myself, I'm a civil engineer in hydraulics, and I started in France at the time, working in a water company. And I think that from the time as I started as an engineer to today, if you divide the population by the amount of drinkable water that you can produce, it has gone down by 3 times. So today, we have to think about different ways, how can we have more drinkable water? And that's the future that we will have. And so the other day I was with people from the past, from my former company, and I was just observing the innovation and the change from those times. You know, at those times, people would were imagining at the time, desalination stations for water, but it was too expensive. It was a lot of energy, and it was very difficult to take the salt from the water through reverse osmosis. Today, 25 years later, you have that as something that now is being tested in California, in Barcelona. So the future of water will definitely go through innovation. inefficient because you have to get other ways to get the water. And taking the salt after the seawater, I think, is something that at the time as an engineer I thought was a dream, was impossible. And today when I saw that there's a couple of units that are working already in different countries, you see how innovation and technology are key to solve the problem. And the third is reuse. How do you reuse water? We waste a lot of water, and so how you will put it in the future. And that's why we are putting more than 5 billion euros in our program in these areas, because they are the areas of the future. Never forget that the war in Syria, when it started, people forget that before that war was a huge drought. And that huge drought created the movements of people in Syria. So one of the points of the war in Syria is not just political, it's water, is farms, is agriculture. So as I think Shimon Peres said before dying, without science there's no peace, and without science there's no democracy, and without innovation we cannot get our people richer, and we cannot get more jobs. So, muito obrigado, é sempre um gosto estar em Beja e sobretudo numa conferência internacional onde vemos que Beja continua a dar cartas, e gostaria muito de agradecer a todos que estarem aqui comigo e aqueles que eu não vejo há muito tempo, pedir-vos desculpa por não vos ver, mas tenho-vos sempre ouvida no coração. Obrigado a todos.